Okay, today we are doing Pidyon Shvuyim, Siman Reish Nun Bet. We're at least going to start. We'll see if we finish. I do want to just go back for one moment, just a couple of minutes, just to go back, because we discussed the a Nasin or a Nesinim. So we mentioned that they come before a regular, a fresh new ger. That's really the halacha. So b'nei gerim, if it's the children of gerim, right? They were born from. So then they, in the order of tzedakah, it's brought down by Rav Avadia, Bar Tanura, and Hamak Sefer Makna, that since he was from birth, he comes before a natin. And then comes natin, and then when it says ger, that means that person himself converted. We kind of mentioned that. Now, just to review, I just want to share real quick. Nesinim, who are they? So these are it's the story that starts in Sefer Yehoshua. It's not, there is a mention about, in Devarim, about, Canaanim also by Moshe, who would compare them to, what's it called? Chotev Eitzim and Shoev Mayim, but that's not our story over here. Our story starts with Yehoshua, Perek Tet. The Givonim, they come and they it's right in the middle of Israel, and Yehuda v'Shomron somewhere, and they pretend that they came from far away outside of Eretz Yisrael, and so they tricked Yehoshua. They made a brit that they just want to convert to be Gerei Tzedek and just to be part of the Jewish people. They wanted to spare their lives. They were afraid for their lives, but they lied. And meanwhile, Yehoshua made a brit with them. Right? It's a machlokas if it was done under false pretenses. It's a machlokas if it was binding, since it was done b'tzibur, or Yehoshua wanted to keep it. We needed to keep it because otherwise it would be a chil Hashem. In other words, mi'etzim, the brit, the shavua, whatever between them, it wasn't really valid, but it's a machlokas. Maybe it wasn't valid, but still, because of Kiddush Hashem, we honored it. Okay, let's fast forward to, what's it called? So, Yehoshua, in response, when he found out he was gozer, and he made them, that's the derogatory terminology of a nasin or netinim. Really they're givonim, but they were called netinim because they tricked us, and now Yehoshua made them, designated them to be those water carriers or the wood choppers for the Beis HaMikdash. So then Yehoshua was gozer on them that they should have this secondary status and not marry Jewish people but only when there was an active Beis HaMikdash or, I believe, a Mishkan. However, once that's with the Mishkan or Beis HaMikdash was not standing, so the Gemara says, Ksubis, not Nun Bet, maybe. Or that's Yevamos Ayin. Anyways, one of the two places. It discusses the story, and it says, David HaMelech, because there was a famine for 3 years in a row, and so it was figured out that one of the main causes is, one of them was Shaul wasn't have a proper hesped, but the other reason was because Shaul did something to hurt or to attack the Givonim. And the Givonim were upset, very upset. And so David HaMelech had to beg them to forgive Shaul, and they were only going to be accept the apology so that the famine should end if David hands over 7 descendants from Shaul, which he does. He spares his best friend Yehonatan son Mephibosheth, but he hands over 7 other descendants, and they are killed and hung in public. And it was a very sad time, but the famine ended. And what did Shaul do? So that is actually, it doesn't say in Tanakh, and it's a question among the Gemara and the Shulchan and the Mefarshim, what actually happened. So the Gemara, it seems like Shaul killed them, or some of them, obviously not all of them, they are still there. So one pshat is, from the Gemara, he didn't actually kill the Givonim directly. It was an indirect blow to the Givonim, because the Givonim were there to serve, and they worked for the Ir Kohanim, Nov. Nov protected David, so Shaul wiped out the city. And when they did that, they all lost their parnasa, and it was very difficult for the Givonim. So that's one pshat. Another pshat is there were 7 Givonim there among the city, and therefore, when Shaul came to kill the Kohanim, he also killed 7, the same 7 number of the Givonim. Another pshat is he believed that the Givonim reneged on the brit between Yehoshua, and they were an accomplice to save David HaMelech. So he went after them and tried to wipe them out. We're used to hearing now the word genocide and ethnic cleansing, but some say that's what David was doing in response to saving. They were more of a malchus for saving, for hiding David. So anyways, those are the possibilities of what actually happened. That Shaul was the one who did to kill them in the Givonim, correct. So that's that. And just one thing I wanted to point out. Fine. No, that's it. Let's go on. Siman Reish Nun Bet. Let's do Pidyon Shvuyim. V'keitzad Podim Latam. Aleph. Pidyon Shvuyim. Kodem leparnasat anim. So in the hierarchy, one of the greatest of all tzedakahs, here I'll point out, the greatest of all tzedakahs is Hatzalas Nefashos, saving lives. Then comes giving an ani who's starving, and might starve to death. And I believe it would be on the 3rd level, would be Pidyon Shvuyim. But I charge you with the task of making a list of top to bottom of hierarchy, who to give first. I mean, keeping Yuchas out and Krovim out, that's like a whole separate equation. But just the hierarchy, what's most important? What kind of an ani? What kind of for chasana? For this? For that? And you can let me know what you have. So, anyways, here we're saying Pidyon Shvuyim comes before anim, and it comes before giving them clothing. Ve'ein mitzvah gedola ke Pidyon Shvuyim. There's no great mitzvah like Pidyon Shvuyim. Okay. So here the Shach, the Taz, they say you could sell that this trumps Sefer Torah, perhaps by a Beit Knesset as well. That's a whole question by a Beit Knesset. We're going to actually talk about that in a moment. Okay. Let's keep going. Hilkach. L'kol davar mitzvah shegavu ma'od bishvilo. Whatever cause the Gabei Tzedakah collect the Tzedakah for, Yecholim l'shnotam l'pidyon shvuyim. You can take that money from that fund, Tzedakah fund, and direct it towards Pidyon Shvuyim. Afili im gabu letzorach binyan Beit HaKnesset. Even if it was for building the Beit Knesset. Beit HaKnesset. You mentioned the word Beis HaMikdash. So, in the end, the last gra, in the end of Reish Nun Aleph, I believe he's saying, you can take from Kodshe Berek HaBayit, for Malachim, for Umas HaOlam, Kol Shekein Tzedakah, and I would say Kol Shekein for Pidyon Shvuyim. Okay? So, good point. Okay, so here we have, I have Beit Knesset. I don't know. Okay, so here we see it's even greater. You set them aside. You bought the stones, you bought whatever you bought, the cement, the wood that you need for it. One second. You already bought it. So normally, when you buy the material for a Beit Knesset, you can't use it for something else, but you could use it for Pidyon Shvuyim. Aval im bina'o kavar, lo yimkeroto. But if it's already a built Beit Knesset, you don't sell a built Beit Knesset. The Taz compares it to like a house. We do sell a lot of things, and we give tzedakah for Pidyon Shvuyim, but we don't sell our houses for Pidyon Shvuyim. We don't sell a Beit Knesset for Pidyon Shvuyim. There are certain limits. Okay. Haga. Umi kol makom hanoder selah litzedakah. If a person says he makes a neder, he's going to give tzedakah, so then ein pidyon shvuyim bichlal. So that tzedakah that a person makes a neder can't go to pidyon shvuyim because it already belongs. It's based on lashon b'nei adam, and lashon b'nei adam, when they say stam tzedakah, they do not have in mind pidyon shvuyim. So it goes towards whatever the tzedakah he had in mind for, or if it's the gabayim, they can decide what to use it for. So therefore, ve'ein liftot b'sela zu rak midad b'nei ha'ir. So he can't now take back his pledge and say, I'm going to use that money and give it to pidyon shvuyim. But he owes it to the Gabbai Tzedakah who he promised it to. He didn't give it yet, but he still can't take it back. But the Gabbai Tzedakah or Tuvei Ha'ir, whoever is in charge, they can and perhaps should, or if they can, take that money and use it for Pidyon Shvuyim, because they have a right to move it from one to another, right? Because it is in the hierarchy, it is high up. But he himself doesn't have that right because he gave it over to them and now it's up to their discretion. It's not his anymore to choose. Okay. Exactly. Okay. Bet. A person who closes his eyes from Pidyon Shvuyim. He knows that someone needs to get out. He knows that he can save him. But he closes his eyes. He ignores it. Over Allah ta'ametz et levavcha. Do not have close your heart, something like that. A strong heart against other people. Don't close your hand. And you also are over. Don't stand on your friend's blood. And you're also over. Ubatel mitzvat patoach tiftach et yadcha lo, and you are also over. You're not fulfilling the mitzvahs aseh of opening up your hand to help. Umitzvahs v'chai achicha imach, and that your brother should live with you. You have to help him. V'ahavta l'rechecha kamocha, and you're skipping over and being mevatel this mitzvah of loving your neighbor. V'hatzel l'kuchim l'mavet, and to save your people taken away to death. You have to. What? That's from Mishlei. That last one. V'harbe devarim ka'elu, and many such words you can find in Tanakh, and that's okay. Gimel kol rega sheme'acher liftot hashvuyim, and so the Shulchan Aruch continues on his Musar. I mean, it's halacha, it's based on halacha, but when you're able to save them and you're delaying, just a delay every moment, I know every second, every moment, when you could have redeemed him earlier, have ki'ilu shofech damim. It's as if you are a murderer. Daled. I'm sure we've all heard this before. This is a famous halacha. Ein podin hashvuyim yoter michdei demehem. One should not overpay in order when redeeming a shevi, a captive, a hostage. Now, midaraisa, there is no such limit. There may or may not be in the spirit of the law. Probably there is, but there is no specific halacha where there's a limit. But Chazal gave one. It's a takana mipnei tikun ha'olam, in order for society. In order, we're going to explain in a moment. Shelo that the goyim don't try too hard and exert themselves in order to keep on capturing more captives, Jewish captives in particular. Right, if you pay them more, now what is more? So it's either, so there's a couple different pshatim, and probably one could be mekel and pay the most, but there are, I'll just raise, there are a few different opinions. What is yoter midemeyim? Either the price of a slave in Chumash, or the price of a non-Jew. How much would a non-Jew pay a ransom? And more than that, for a Jewish captive, that's called yoter midemeyim. Obviously, exactly, $1 more is not called more. Where do you, anyway, shikol hadas, what's more? And some say it's also based on how much that person is worth. In other words, it could be more than a goy. It could be an important Jew. A Jew is worth more maybe than a goy. I'm on video here, or tape, but whatever is lefi the person we deem is worth, then that is, based on who he is, so that is the limit. Aval, right, not 100% clear. Aval, Adam yachol liftot atzma bekol ma sheyirtzeh. A person is allowed to pay as much as he wants, if it's redeeming himself, not others. V'chein, mashma, even family members. V'chein, now, I'll just point out, it's a machlokas in the Gemara, two opinions, and the Rambam and Shulchan Aruch paskin, that it doesn't matter if the person has a lot of money and he wants to redeem it himself. Once there's a limit, once it's yoter midemeyim, you're not allowed to. Even if the person is rich, right? One opinion says why? Because it's going to be too much of a monetary toll on the tzibur that everyone has to pitch in. So they paskin Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam, even if it's yoter midemeyim, even if the person has sufficient funds and he's going to pay for it, then it doesn't matter. It's still aser mipnei tikun olam, because it'll still cause them to be too quick to capture more. Let's keep going. V'chein letalmid chacham. Not only can a person redeem himself, he's also allowed to redeem a talmid chacham, or afilu eino talmid chacham ela shehu talmid charif. Ve'efshar sheyeh adam gadol kodim oto b'damim merubim. And he says you can even pay more for a big Talmid Chacham, a really big Talmid Chacham. That's and even if he's not yet a Talmid Chacham, but you see he's very studious, Yoreh Shemayim with a good memory, he's Matzliach in his learning, and he's going to become a big Talmid Chacham, then you're also allowed to pay extra for him. Haga, v'im ishto ke'acher dami, olo ayin betur even ezer. What to do with the wife? Because it's not himself. Okay, we'll look over there. Here, I'm just going to point out in the Pischei Tshuva here in Va. No, that's the next one. Okay, just to go back, so the Shach points out the Bach paskins that one is allowed to pay more. I guess it seems to be different in the Shulchan Aruch and the Rambam. The Shach quotes the Bach who says you are allowed to pay more for a karov. If you're going to pay for yourself, from your own money for a karov, then you are allowed to pay extra. And one is not necessarily, and he says certainly for a wife, one is allowed to pay extra. We don't force one to pay extra for family, but one is allowed to. V'chein amad davar. That's how the Bach leaves it, and that's how the Shach quotes it. So there is room to be mekel on those grounds. And also the Pischei Tshuva quotes, now this is a machlokas, but according to one of the opinions, or Terutzim and Tosfos, if there is sakanas nafashos, if there's a hostage, a captive, and you're afraid they're going to kill him, so then you are allowed to pay yoter midemeyim. So that doesn't seem to be clear according to the Shulchan Aruch and Rambam, but that does, it seems probably not, but it is a machlokas in the Achronim, the Pischei Tshuva mentions it. Okay, so the main sugya over there is clearly only talking about money. Question is, I'll just raise famous questions. It happens, unfortunately, very unfortunately, in Eretz Yisrael, with civilians and soldiers, if they're hostages. So some of the considerations that make it different is, we're talking about, it's a national issue. I don't have to get into it. I'm just going to point out a few things that really do make a difference, that it could be a difference lahalacha, and it's not for money. They're doing it in order for morale, in order to get back other terrorists, and it's a different equation. Another reason why it might be mutter yuter midimiyam, because the Israeli's life is in danger. Also, it can affect the country and the soldiers' morale and future fighting. That's another reason. Also, the price might not make a difference, because no matter what, they want to. For them, it's always going to be a win and a tremendous victory for them to keep every hostage. Obviously, the more they get for it, it'll make them a little more embrazen, but either way, they're going to go after any hostage they can. The one reason why it might not be okay is if the price is too high and it's going to release more terrorists that are going to create more danger by releasing them. So then the question is it a suffix, is it a vadai? How many, and who is being released? And that's that sugya in a nutshell.